Hello. It's time for me to yap about something new. I always have something new to yap about, and today it's my writing journey. That's right, I write. I'm kind of an all over the place type of person. I get into a lot of hobbies. I have a lot of different interests. I'll pick up a new hobby, and if I'm not like immediately good at it, then I will just stop doing it and I'll move on to the next thing. One of the things that early on I discovered I was really good at and I really liked doing is writing. Over the course of my life, I've written many things, none of which are published. I'm not a published author. I'm just a girl. I'm a girl with a dream, and I'm here to yap about my dreams, okay? So if you came to this video looking for genuine writing advice from a professional, that's not what you're gonna get. But I can offer you some tips on how to stay motivated, because while I don't have a finished product yet, I've been working on this same story, this same novel idea for over a year now, and that's something that I struggle with. I struggle with keeping motivation and coming up with new ideas and like having to rewrite things and delete a lot of things and keep motivation while I'm actively deleting a large portion of what I've written. Also, I think I have a different process. Like I go on YouTube and I listen to writers all the time talk about their process of outlining and planning and writing and rewrites and all that stuff, and none of it has ever worked for me. Like I've tried making the standard outline, and I've also tried doing like sticky notes. People all the time, they're like, oh my god, sticky notes changed my life. I can just write things on a sticky note and stick them on the wall, and there's my story. It's in the sticky notes. Fuck you and your sticky notes, okay? That shit doesn't work. And then there's people who are like, you have to use Scrivener. You need to use Scrivener or an app like Scrivener, something like an app that is specifically made for writing a manuscript. That's the only way to do it. So I tried Scrivener. Just because you're writing your story on fucking Scrivener, that doesn't make you a professional author, okay? You don't need Scrivener or apps like it to write, okay? I have discovered recently that Google Docs is actually great. My whole life, I've wanted to be a writer. I've always had this dream that I would work a boring 9-to-5 job. On any spare time I had, I would sit down and I'd write my novel. And then I would write such a good novel that I'd become a best-selling author, and then I'd never have to work a 9-to-5 ever again. And that was my goal. My goal was to go from being ordinary to being extraordinary. And that still kind of is my goal, okay? I would love it if I could write a best-selling novel and then have that like catapult me into stardom. I find that when I go into writing with the idea that I'm going to be writing a New York Times best-selling novel, that puts pressure on writing. And when there's pressure on me, I tend to not work that well. I tend to churn out slop, okay? Pressure does make diamonds, but not in my case. In my case, pressure makes slop. So in order to take the pressure off from this being like my best-selling debut breakout novel, whatever the fuck, I decided that I was gonna write a fanfic. But always in the back of my mind, I had this idea that the story's gonna start out as a fanfic. I'm just gonna go in and change the names when I'm done, and then I'll have an original work, and I'll only have to tweak just a little bit of things. And that's still my master plan, okay? Because don't you get it fucking twisted. This story may be a fanfiction, technically, on a technicality. It may have started out as a fan fiction, but there are more original characters in this story than a normal fan fiction would have. The main character is an OC. The main character's love interest is an OC. Everyone that the main character interacts with is basically an OC, except for, like, 2 people. I've just made it a fan fiction because that takes the pressure off, because now when I'm writing it, I'm just writing a silly, goofy little fanfic, okay? And one day it'll be changed into an original work, but for now, it's just silly goofy. There's no pressure there. And that helps me, okay? That helps me cope. That helps me be more productive. And I'm also fortunate enough that the premise I came up with is going to be very easy to transition out of being a fan fiction into being an original work, because the main places and events that take place in the story are all my original work. That all came out of here. The only thing that is fan fiction about this is the characters' names, basically. That's all that needs changed. And I want this to be chill. I want this to be fun. And there's no pressure here. All right, no pressure. I'm also not joking about the amount of OCs that are in this story. I fear if I did post this, like, on AO3, people would be like, this isn't a fucking fanfiction. You have too many OCs. Too many OCs. So I started thinking about a fanfic that might involve a self-insert of me and Malcolm Merlin, you know, just for fun. I was just toying with the idea, and I told my friend this. My friend, her name is Hannah. She is very important to this story. Get to know her. And Hannah convinced me to actually write the story, all right? She was like, write it. I was like, okay, bet. It'll be a funny little joke. It'll be a funny little joke between friends. I'll write it. My first try at writing the story was very convoluted, and when I realized this, I had to go back and delete it. I had to go back and rewrite it, so I did a lot of different rewrites. It started off with the basic concept that my epic self-insert character, her name is Jessica, right? She's so cool and crafty and witty, and she's so sexy. And dumb as fuck. It sounds dumb and stupid, but all good things come out of something that sounds dumb and stupid. I do truly believe that. So my epic self-insert character was going to be a super spy who seduces Malcolm Merlin in order to get information about a secret project that he was funding. What's the secret project? I didn't have a fucking clue when I started writing it. I was like, it'll come to me, okay? I'm a discovery writer, all right? I'm telling you. There's two different types of writers. You either sit down and you make a full comprehensive outline of your story and then start writing it, or you have a little funny little idea in your head and then you just start writing without an outline. That's discovery writing. I unfortunately am a huge discovery writer, and that is one of my fatal flaws. I don't want to be this way. I wish that I could sit down and write a full outline and then just like, boom. That's not how I do it. I discover the story as I fucking write it, and I don't like that I do that. I really don't. I wish I didn't do that. It's a huge time sink. Like, I'll write a whole chapter, and then, you know, a couple weeks will go by, I'll have a new idea will come to me. I'll discover a new idea, and then I'll be like, well, shit, now I have to go back and rewrite all of those chapters to accommodate my new idea. And it's a lot of rewrites. It's a lot of rewrites, redo, reuse, recycle. And that can get really repetitive, it can get really draining, and it can feel like you're not making progress. And I've come up with ways to combat this, okay? First of all, I've stopped using fucking Scrivener, okay? Because Scrivener does not work for me. Having just one fucking Google Doc, that's good enough. One Google Doc with the whole thing in it. That's it. That's all you need. That's all I need. Maybe you need Scrivener. Okay, cool. If you need it, I don't need it. Okay, you can keep Scrivener. I transitioned everything from Scrivener to Google Docs, and I also gave my friend Hannah access to the Google Doc so that she could read it. She could be my Wattpad reader. She constantly jokes that the story now is completely different from the first one that she saw, and she's right. That's a whole different story. Same initial premise, completely different story, okay? It's crazy. It's actually crazy. Because I'm deleting things constantly, I've decided that instead of just deleting the chapter and having it disappear into the void forever, I have a separate Google Doc now where I keep my deleted scenes. And I can go back and I can see when I deleted them. I can look at it, I can reread it. It's not gone, it's not dead, it's not forgotten. I've also added the patch notes. And this is just kind of like my updates, my author's notes section, where every time I go in and I write, every time I add something new, I will go to the bottom of the document, add to the patch notes for that day. I changed the dialogue in this chapter. I added a detail in this chapter. I deleted 10 scenes from where, you know, I did this, that, the other thing. And so now, when I have to delete big chunks of stuff, it feels like I'm making progress rather than I'm deleting things. The patch notes is also a good way for my friend to be able to, like, see the changes that I've made without having to go back and reread the entire story, which is quite long at this point. It's been like a year now. It's been over a year that I've been working on this. I have still not finished it. It's nowhere near done, I fear. We are nowhere near the end. Maybe I'm dancing on the end. I'm dancing near the end of part 1. Okay, there's gonna be at least 4 parts. Also, having somebody, like, in the Google document with me, able to read everything and see what I'm doing and, like, maybe give suggestions and stuff, it's helpful. I mean, her ideas are usually bad. And I don't take criticism very well. So whenever she's like, I think that this sentence sounds weird, I'm like, yeah, well, I think your mom sounds weird. And that's where we leave it, and I don't change the sentence. But every so often, she'll have an idea. And I'll be like, I mentioned earlier that the way I outline and the way I write is different from the way most people do it, the way you'll hear most authors talk about it. And like I said, I'm not a published author. I'm just speaking from the experience of someone who is finally really figuring out how I like to write. And I think that if you're in the same boat as me, if you're not a published author, if you want to start writing a story but you don't really know how to outline or how to like do that, here's what I do. So I do write an outline. I'm not that much of a discovery writer. I'll write my outline and then I'll start writing my story. And as I write the story and as I discover new things that I want to add, I will go back to that outline and I'll start adding those things to it. So the outline will start out very bare bones, but then as I discover where I want the story to go, I will go in and I will update the outline with these new things, right? The outline is bullet points. I'll take the bullet points and I will turn the bullet points into a summary. Like a paragraph of summary, sometimes multiple paragraphs. I'll read this. On the bus ride home, while reading, she thinks she catches some random man staring at her from behind a newspaper like the most stereotypical sneak ever. She attempts to brush the feeling off, but when that man gets off the bus at the exact same stop as her, she takes the time to memorize his face in case she sees him again. That's 2 fucking sentences that describes an entire scene. And so then I will take those 2 sentences when I get to this point in my writing, I'll expand it into the full scene, and then I will delete the outline. Delete it straight up, it's gone. Because once I've written it, I don't need a fucking synopsis anymore. So I write out my bullet points, and then I turn my bullet points into a chapter summary, and then I turn the summary into the actual chapter. So by this point, I have basically lived through the chapter 3 times. And while I'm writing the summary, I'll discover new things I want to add. And also, because my friend is in this Google document leaving comments, sometimes she'll leave comments and they'll be pretty funny. I described a baby rat as being gray, and she said, baby rats are pink hairless blobs. So I would say pink instead of gray. And then I replied, your mom is a pink hairless blob. I wrote in the story, like, another brackets, like, I need a description of the jet here. And then she commented on that description saying, yes, I would definitely describe the interior of the jet more. Hey, why do you think I left the comment for myself? Because I know that I need to describe the interior of the jet more. Like, this is the insightful fucking commentary that you get from your friend when you add her into the Google Doc. If you made it to the end of the video, I'm going to read to you the prologue, okay? I'm going to read you my fucking prologue. Prologue. Okay, prologue. This is so serious. There is no safety net at the bottom of this waterfall. Only jagged rocks ready to tear my skin to shreds. At this point, all I can hope is that death will come quickly, although I'm not sure that's a mercy I deserve. My final moments feel like the end of a daunting orchestral performance. Loud and thunderous, the waterfall sings a haunting, high-pitched hymn inside my head, accompanied only by the panicked, pounding percussion of my horrified heartbeat. I realized that alliteration was a little bit excessive, so I did tone it down a little bit. I'm not really sold on the whole orchestra metaphor, so maybe I'll actually redo it. Like, this will be the millionth time I've redone the prologue at this point, but anyway, carry on past me. Realization strikes like a gong. These breaths will be my last. I'd spent my entire life desperately trying to appear in control, but in my final moments, I'm helpless. It was futile, reaching out to him as if he would change his mind. He'd never tell anyone what happened here. The world had no reason to question him. My flailing arms... I'm deleting that. Actually, that's garbage. Oh my god. Wait, now that I'm actually rereading this is fucking stupid. I'm discovering that this is garbage. Delete. Oh, bye-bye, bitch. Gone. Okay, moving on. My flailing arms search around me for something, anything, to slow my rapid descent, but the falling water is the only thing I find. There's something electric about the water, shocking a panicked scream out of my lungs. I see her reflected in the shimmering, iridescent water, chastising me for the last time. Her mouth is moving, but I can only guess her words. Something along the lines of, I told you so. Serves me right for being optimistic. Thank you for watching this video. I will probably update this video after I finish my latest batch of rewrites. I'm currently this is the rewrite. I'm calling this the heist rewrite because I want to add in a heist just for shits and giggles. I'm definitely going to make more updates to this, my writing journey. I'm going to call this like my writing log. Writing log number 1. Ooh, thumbnail. I'm probably going to do more videos like this where I talk about my writing because I think that it will help keep me motivated, and it can be fun to like go back and see where I'm at. So this was like the precursor. My next video, I'm going to kind of explain more about the versions, the major changes I made so far in the story. This video was mainly just to test my new microphone. I got a new microphone. Hi. And I just want to make sure that I know how to use it before I make my arrow video, because God, that would be really bad if I couldn't figure out how to use this.